Welcome back to Depression. I am your host, Mr. Antidepressant. In today's episode, we are going over the brutal, disgusting loss the Denver Broncos got or received from the Baltimore Ravens, losing 10-9 in a game that came down to the last few seconds. Wow, what an abysmal offensive game from both standards, pretty much. Lamar Jackson gets injured early. He has to leave the game. And Tyler Huntley comes in and takes the reins for the Baltimore Ravens. He did okay, 27 of 32, 187 yards and an interception. He did have a rushing touchdown. The only touchdown scored in the game was his rushing touchdown that came in the last minute of the game. Russell Wilson was 17 for 22 and 189 yards. So it doesn't look like he's doing anything, but that completion percentage is good. The yards is okay. There's no touchdowns. We have no points. Latavius Murray, 17 of 47. It's just so depressing to watch. It was especially depressing to watch this game, but especially the Broncos, because their defense is so good, but in the biggest moments, they just can't come up with wins. They can't come up with positives. They let up a late touchdown drive. The Broncos defense lets it up to Tyler Huntley and the Baltimore Ravens, which was going to come soon enough, but I thought they could hold them off for one more drive. We did have a spark at the very end of the game, but again, with these long kicks, Brandon McManus is just not young enough to do them anymore. He's kicked a 65-yarder and a 63-yarder. Both have been missed, both for game winners. Both were missed. It's just so depressing to watch. I literally had this game on my computer and the Vikings game on my TV, the Vikings-Jets game. And I was watching the Vikings-Jets game, and then I would every once in a while glance down and see, did anything major happen in this game? Obviously not, because the score was 10-9, and it was 9-3 for 3 quarters. So pretty depressing game. But if any of you listen to my other podcast episode about how to fix the Denver Broncos, they were so close to nailing one of the steps. So close. And that was one of the steps to fix the Denver Broncos was if you start winning games towards the end of the season against good opponents, a lot of the pressure will be taken off of Russ. Of course, it won't happen just within one game, but if you start winning games, the pressure will be taken off of Russ, and it'll go to other places, other teams in the league. And and the Broncos are not good with handling the pressure this year of being good. And if they win this game slightly, some of the pressure gets taken off, and the storyline is a little bit different. The Broncos win. The storyline, instead of being Broncos offense sucks again, defense can't help them out of it, and they lose the game, Russ still sucks. The storyline is Broncos beat Ravens without Lamar Jackson in a close game. That's the storyline. Without Lamar Jackson, still a close game, but they still beat the Ravens at home in Baltimore. The storyline is just different. And you look at this game, sure, the day after, everybody watched it. Or nobody watched. Okay, nobody watched it, but everybody knows the story behind it, the actual story. But then 2 weeks later, in the scorebook, it says Broncos win over Ravens, and everybody forgets what happened in this game because nobody watched it. So the storyline would be different. And Hackett's inability to coach is just off the charts. I mean, he is just so bad. I mean, we put up 9 freaking points. 9. 3 field goals. Obviously, something's wrong because, that's just right off the bat, something's wrong. But something's wrong internally because Hackett couldn't coach and couldn't call plays. Now Kubiak's calling plays, and we still can't get anything to go. So that's either means something within the offense, like the 11 guys on offense, is totally wrong, and something's not clicking with any of them, or that means that Hackett is just a horrible coach. And I'll give Hackett. I'm not going to give him credit, but I'll give him this: is that our team is super injured. Like our O line is totally injured, and our wide receivers all injured. They just keep missing games and stuff like that. And we don't have Javonte Williams. But the fact is, you have Russell Wilson, and he's been doing this for years, scrambling out of the pocket, finding guys that are not really open and giving them the ball, putting in perfect spots. He's been in the league winning games without like all-star players, Pro Bowl players. He's been doing it forever. And the fact that you have Latavius Murray is not, he's probably a B tier running back. I mean, he's not great, but he's not bad. He can get the job done. And I know Cortland Sutton was up, but Jerry Jeudy came back, and KJ Hamler's a decent slot guy. I mean, you have a few weapons, and Russell Wilson's a great quarterback. I still believe it. I still believe he's a great quarterback. He's just Nathaniel Hackett doesn't know how to coach the offense. He doesn't know how to coach guys mentally. He doesn't know how to coach them physically. He has no idea what he's doing. Like Mike Vrabel coaching the Titans, great. But they have no weapons besides Derrick Henry. Just hand the ball to Derrick Henry. But other than that, Tannehill's not a good quarterback. They have no wide receivers. Their O-line is decent. I mean, you look at a team like the Titans, they're winning games with one weapon, Derrick Henry. Hackett does not. We have decent weapons. We should be a decent team. Right now, we're an F tier garbage team, and it's because his inability to coach is just off the charts. They got to get rid of him now. I mean, if they don't immediately after the season is over, get rid of him. They got to if they get rid of him now, promote Evero to head coach. And you guess what you got to do? You brought in a coach. You brought in Hackett, who has never been a head coach in his entire life. He's had no experience at that position, and you brought in a brand new quarterback, and they both have conflicting. It was like Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. They both conflicted right off the bat because LaFleur had never been a head coach. Aaron Rodgers thought he knew the system, like knew everything about football, and they collided. Russell Wilson coming to Denver with a plan. He wants things done a certain way, and Nathaniel Hackett has no coaching experience. Guess what? They're going to fight a little bit. And it worked out for the Packers. It's not working out here. And Ejiro Evero has the respect of everybody. Like all the fans, all the players, because their defense is that good. And this is his first year. So if they don't promote him to end, I actually probably wouldn't. I'd probably let Hackett ride the rest of the season. I wouldn't promote Evero just yet. I know I just said I promote him, but I probably wouldn't do it just yet, just because it is his first year being a defensive coordinator, and he has little experience, but he's thriving in that role right now. Let him thrive for a few more years before he makes any head coaching decisions. But what you got to do, you can't bring in some brand new guy because who has like no track record of being a head coach, because that's just going to be that fighting with Russell Wilson, who wants things done a certain way in the offense, and the head coach. You got to bring in a head coach that has experience and a notable track record, and who's done good things in the NFL. Like you can go back and see, oh, he won so-and-so games. He led this team that was not very good or whatever. So in my opinion, I mean, if Frank Reich wants to come coach the Broncos, I would take a coach like Frank Reich. There's not many of them out there right now. But he's a coach with head coaching experience, coached the Colts for multiple years, and he has a notable record. I mean, he was winning games with that team. And he was winning games with Andrew Luck up until Andrew Luck suddenly retired. And then he took the Colts almost to the playoffs with Carson Wentz. And that's tough to do because Carson Wentz is a garbage quarterback. And so I would take Frank Reich. I don't love Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is just not a guy that I like. I mean, that Super Bowl was just bad, but I would take a guy like Frank Reich, who, has head coaching experience and a normal record, because he's going to lead. I mean, you walk in and everybody has a little bit of respect for this guy because he has won in the league before, and their past head coach was just a bozo. So, and that's something the Broncos got to do this year. But I've been saying this for like the past few weeks, is that we could go 3-14 this season. The Broncos could definitely go 3-14 the rest of the way, because their schedule is not the easiest. Excuse me. They play the Chiefs this week. major L. They play the Cardinals the week after. I mean, based on not being able to beat the Ravens and backup quarterback, they didn't beat the Panthers. They got blown out by the Panthers. It was 23-3 in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just pathetic. That's an L to the Cardinals. The Rams, they just signed Baker Mayfield. I like how they said the NFL Instagram account said LA Rams claim Baker Mayfield as if he's like property or his if he's as if he's like a fantasy player. Like, oh, I claimed him, and we'll drop him at any time. But I claimed him for now. But that's probably an L right there. They gotta. I mean, I know they're defending Super Bowl champs, and they're just laying an absolute egg this season. But we can't beat anybody. I mean, our only wins are the Texans, who are the worst team in the league, the Niners, who we beat by a point, and that was because Jimmy G. That was like his second game back, and we beat the Jaguars. So two teams that are just awful, and one team didn't have a quarterback. Like Jimmy G, that was his first game. It was his first time playing with a team in like however long. I mean, we have not had, and the games were not convincing whatsoever. So we cannot beat anybody. We're going to lose to the Chiefs, lose to the Cardinals, lose to the Rams. The week after we play the Chiefs, another L. We play the Chargers, another L. So we're going to go 3-14. And if that doesn't get Hackett fired at the end of the year by George Patton, I don't know. This team needs to be burned and thrown in the garbage because this is just pathetic. Anyways, if you like this rant about how terrible the Denver Broncos are, please subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all those good things. Like the video, share with your buddies and your friends. It'd mean the world to me. Anyways, guys, I'm signing off. See you.